This last junction, we know Caitlin Clark has been ringing bells all over the world with her being choked out on the floor of a basketball game. Now, many people can say that, you can capture the camera angle, a still picture. I was there in the stands. Oh, I synced it. Oh, I hella synced.
Picture this. Indianapolis, June 24th. A loose ball, a scramble, and out of nowhere, Alyssa Thomas drives her fist straight into Caitlin Clark's throat. No whistle, no foul, nothing. Clark walks off the court by the third quarter, and just like that, the WNBA has its loudest, wildest week of the entire season. And trust me, Clark wasn't the only story here.
And it wasn't just her. Many other Mercury teammates was near Caitlin Clark in the back, shoving her with elbows like this. It was so much diabolical stuff going on in this basketball game.
One bad night. No, this was a full-blown storm brewing for days. Indiana and Phoenix clashed twice in just 3 days, both times in Indianapolis. First up, June 22nd, and it got ugly fast. 6 technical fouls, an ejection. Even Clark got hit with a technical, her 5th of the season, just for clapping back. She called it flat out ridiculous afterward. And a lot of that bad blood, it traces right back to DeWanna Bonner, who had a rough 9-game stint with the Fever last year before landing in Phoenix. So when these two teams stepped back on the court just 48 hours later, the tension wasn't simmering anymore. It was ready to explode.
My head. Could this be why Caitlin Clark left the game? Could this be they simply pulled her because they didn't want her to get any more of an assault on her? Let's just be honest. People saying she got benched. Maybe they pulled her because they got tired of seeing them.
Was that punch really why Clark left the floor? It's not that simple. Coach Stephanie White pointed to an old back issue, separate from the scuffle, she said. But make no mistake, she wasn't calm about the officiating. She came out swinging, calling 2 hits on Clark cheap shots, even using the word egregious. Eventually, the league did step in, reviewing the game and hitting Alyssa Thomas with a flagrant foul too, a $1,000 fine, and a 1-game suspension, served 3 days later against Toronto. But beyond that, total silence. The Dan Patrick Show spent an entire day trying to get a single comment from the league. They got absolutely nothing back.
So hesitant, Dave, to embrace Caitlin Clark, and sometimes feels like actively antagonistic.
Well, it's the worst marketed league in the history of leagues. They're absolute morons. That's the answer. Now, a lot of times social media...
You know that voice? That's Dave Portnoy, the Barstool Sports founder, and he's been one of Caitlin Clark's biggest supporters since her Iowa days. Strip away all the noise, and his point is actually pretty simple. This league has the most marketable athlete it's ever had, and somehow keeps dropping the ball. He said the same thing right after the Thomas incident, blasting out on social media that without Clark, these players would still be flying commercial, and this is how she gets treated in return. Now, love him or hate him, agree or not. That marketing question? It's a fair one to ask.
W has had a lot of white superstar and WNBA players. So it's not like she's the first white girl. A lot of the great players of all time. We just mentioned Taurasi. They've had great white female basketball players. Yeah. I think they felt she was anointed. Nobody
wants to talk about the ugliest question in women's basketball right now. But here it is. Is Caitlin Clark being protected by the WNBA, or is she being left out to dry? Because depending on who you ask this week, you'll get 2 completely opposite answers, and only one of them can actually be true. Let's start with the part almost nobody agrees on, whether any of this is about race. One loud voice pushed back hard on that idea, pointing out the league has had white superstars before, naming legends like Diana Taurasi, and landing on a different explanation instead. Plain old jealousy, mixed with a league that doesn't seem to understand where its own money is coming from. Other commentators see it completely differently and think identity absolutely plays a role. This is one of the real fault lines in the whole debate, and honest people land on both sides of it. But here's where the conversation stops being just opinion and starts being numbers. The claim is that these players are flying private because of Clark, that there's a new labor agreement because of Clark. That's not just talk. Look at what actually happened since she stepped onto the floor in 2024. League-wide ticket sales exploded by roughly 93% in her very first season. Her own team went from one of the emptiest arenas in the league to one of the fullest. The league moved to full charter flights. It signed a media deal worth billions. It triggered real revenue sharing for players. Top salaries jumped past $1.5 million. TV numbers that used to sit around 450,000 viewers a game started regularly smashing 2 million. And the league built a record-breaking national broadcast schedule, over 200 games, specifically designed to get her team on air as much as possible. You simply don't restructure an entire season around a player you don't need. Then there's the mainstream factor, and this might be the hardest thing in sports to manufacture. Clark didn't just sell WNBA tickets. She broke into the wider sports conversation the way only a tiny handful of athletes ever do in a generation. She's reportedly moved more merchandise than any basketball player since 2024 not named Steph Curry. Analysts have spent 2 straight years telling other players in the league, don't resent the spotlight, because that spotlight is the reason your paycheck just got bigger. And sure, the counterargument is real. The league does have other legitimate stars now. But there's a massive difference between having stars and having one true crossover phenomenon. Right now, this league has exactly one of those. And that's where the doomsday talk kicks in. One theory floating around is that the Fever franchise could be staring down financial trouble, and that if Clark ever walked away, packed her bags, decided to start her own league entirely, the whole WNBA could collapse within months. Let's be real about that. It's a hypothetical, not a fact. The actual numbers say the opposite. By attendance and valuation, this franchise isn't struggling. It's become one of the flagship teams in the entire league, and it got there specifically because of the player wearing number 22. The idea of a rival Clark-led league is pure speculation, nothing more. But strip away the panic, and there's a real warning buried inside it. Any league this dependent on a single player is carrying serious risk. Pretending otherwise is exactly how you sleepwalk into a crisis. Now flip the entire argument on its head, because the opposite take has been just as loud this week. One well-known former NFL player laid out a theory that got instant attention. He compared Clark to Moses. She led the league out of the wilderness, he said. She delivered the charter flights, the new labor deal, the max contracts, and now, in his words, the promised land is full of talent, and the league has finally crossed the threshold it needed her to cross. His actual argument was that the league, at this point in time, would be better off without her, because she's become a bigger distraction than an asset. His logic was that she got the necessary eyeballs on the league, and now that those eyeballs are here, people are discovering there's talent that goes way beyond her. Other rising stars, other proven veterans, other big names. According to him, Clark did what only Clark could do, and now the league doesn't need her the same way anymore. Let's give that take its strongest version, because there is one buried underneath the shock value. His real target isn't Clark herself, it's the circus around her. The claim is that officials bend calls in her favor, that media mobilizes after every hard foul, that front offices have fired general managers, coaches, and social media staff, all in the name of protecting one player. His bigger point is that the league has reached a stage where it can stand on its own collection of talent without organizing everything around one single name. The problem is, the evidence keeps working against him. This is the exact same league that built its entire 200-plus game national schedule around her team before a single game had even been played. You don't do that for a player you've supposedly outgrown. His follow-up argument was even sharper, that the league shouldn't have to think about where it places her on posters, that officials shouldn't have to soften the rules for her, that opposing players shouldn't have to treat her more gently, that her own coach shouldn't have to watch how she talks to her in public. Unless the league takes the gloves off and stops treating her like some kind of untouchable figure, he argued, it would actually be in better shape. And that's the real center of his entire pitch. Stop coddling her. Let her take hits like every other player in a physical sport. It's a clean, simple argument on paper, but it runs straight into a brutal contradiction, because the real question was never whether Clark is being babied. The real question is whether she's being protected at all. Rewind to where this whole story started. A player drove a closed fist directly into her throat during a scramble for a loose ball. The officials on the court called absolutely nothing. It took a next-day league review just to hand down a flagrant foul, a one-game suspension, and a fine smaller than what some players spend on a single weekend. That is not the picture of a superstar being wrapped in bubble wrap. That's the exact opposite. And it lines up with what her own coach has been saying publicly, calling 2 separate hits on her cheap shots, using the word egregious, calling it flat out unacceptable. Her own teammate has said directly that she's being targeted and that officials aren't doing enough to protect her. You can think that's exaggerated, but you cannot argue in the same breath that the league bends every rule to protect her while also watching her take a closed fist to the neck with 0 whistle. Both of those stories cannot be true at the same time. So is she genuinely being targeted, or is this simply a rough, physical league finally getting more cameras pointed at it? Honestly, it's probably a mix of both, and pretending it's purely one or the other is exactly where most of these arguments fall apart. What's undeniable is that no other player in the league draws her specific combination of attention, scrutiny, and contact. And the league's slow, mostly silent response hasn't done anything to make it look fair. When reporters spent an entire day trying to get even one official comment from the league and came away with nothing, that's not neutrality, that's a vacuum. And vacuums always get filled by podcasts, by hot takes, by whoever's willing to grab the microphone. The league is letting other people write its own story because the uncomfortable truth is simple. This league needs Caitlin Clark far more than she needs it. And that imbalance makes everyone inside the league uncomfortable, from the players who were grinding long before she arrived, to the front offices that don't want to admit one rookie reset the sport's entire economic floor. So will the league collapse without her? No, that's pure hyperbole. Would it lose serious ground, the ratings boom, the growth, a real chunk of the new money? Almost certainly, and fast. The honest answer isn't that the league dies. It's that it snaps back toward where it used to be, and nobody who's watched the last 2 years actually wants to find out how far that snapback would go. Maybe that's exactly why one moment hit such a nerve. It wasn't just a hard foul. It was a snapshot of the entire situation. The most valuable asset women's basketball has ever produced, taking a shot to the throat, while the people who benefit most from her presence stayed completely silent. So here's the real question, and I want your honest answer in the comments, because you can't sit on the fence with this one. Has the league genuinely outgrown its need to protect Caitlin Clark? Or is that exact kind of thinking the reason a generational talent just took a fist to the neck while everyone looked the other way? Drop your take below, pick a side, and don't scroll past this one, because the next time the league is forced to answer for how it's really handling this, you're going to want to see it first. Hit follow so you don't miss it.